I want you to recall the last time you stood in front of the fridge or pantry, hungry, tired, and thinking, what the hell am I going to eat? In that moment, you could probably barely stomach the idea of cooking, pun unintended. As a nutrition therapy practitioner, I often work with people who really want to live and eat healthier. But no matter how committed they feel to that goal, they still face moments like these. And if you're here listening to this podcast, then chances are you are one of those people committed and desiring a healthier, more fulfilling life. So why is it that we still have these moments? Most people assume that the problem is willpower, motivation, or a lack of discipline. And often this is what the world tells us, whether consciously and just outright or subconsciously. Just suck it up and make a healthy meal, right? Wrong. The real problem is simply that you've probably had to make too many decisions that day. In this episode, I'm sharing my number one hack for simple, consistent nutrition. It's called meal automation, and it may change the way you think about food, decisions, gut health, and your energy throughout the day. If your wellness journey has you stuck in a cycle of overwhelm and inconsistency, it's time to lean in. Together, we are unlocking the confidence and clarity to make your health feel like a peaceful return home. Welcome to the Health Habit Podcast. I'm Maria, a nature-loving herbalist, science-obsessed nutrition therapy practitioner, and your guide to holistic healing. If you're ready for realistic routines that bring more presence and fulfillment into your life, then brew up some tea or crack open a kombucha and let's get into it. The number one nutrition hack that we are going to be talking about today is the very first thing that I teach people inside the Wellness Consistency Coaching Program, because everything needs to start with the foundation of nourishment. And meal automation is so fantastic because it helps us set the stage for not dieting, not restricting, but building a clear, grounded system that reduces decision fatigue, which we'll be talking about shortly, and makes everyday eating feel convenient. And by making our nutrition literally feel convenient and easy, we can promote a healthy body, healthy energy levels, and digestion on a consistent long-term basis. So if you've been struggling to create that reality, that stops now, because this episode is going to give you such a great first step. And if you want to take it even further, if you don't even want to do any of the planning yourself, you just want to completely outsource your nutrition, I got you, girl. I will give you a full plug and play meal plan, and also I'm going to give you a grocery list and a weekly meal schedule. So if that sounds good to you, then head over to thehealthhabit.net/services and snag your personalized plug and play meal plan today. Meal automation might not sound sexy, but once it clicks, girl, there's nothing more powerful and sexier than meal automation when it comes to consistent and simplified nutrition. This idea lives at the intersection of habit formation, nervous system support, and gut health. It's one of the simplest ways to make healthy eating literally convenient. So let's start with what most people are up against. Many of the women I work with really want to live healthier. We talked about that. They know that nutrition matters. They care about their energy and their hormones and their digestion. They know that they want to feel clear and grounded in their bodies, but they can't seem to make healthy habits stick. Now, this might sound familiar. You plan to cook more at home, but by the time you finish work, you're drained. You wanted to make a balanced dinner, yet somehow now you're scrolling on your phone, snacking on whatever is nearby, and you tell yourself, you know what, we're just going to start again tomorrow. We're going to start fresh. And then the cycle repeats. This is not a character flaw. It's not proof that you lack discipline. It's often due to something called decision fatigue. This is a real thing. Decision fatigue is what happens when your brain has already had to think about so many things. It's had to make choices or try to avoid making choices all day long, and you simply run out of quality decision-making energy. From the moment you wake up, your brain is sorting through options. What to wear, what to check first, your email or your text messages, how to respond to the text that you're receiving, what to say in that meeting or when your friend calls you, whether to answer the call when your friend calls you, whether to go to the gym or not. All of these choices cost mental energy. So by the time you get to the end of the day, your brain's tired. And tired brains do not reach for the most aligned choice. No, they reach for the easiest one. So when you're staring into the fridge at 8 p.m., the part of your brain that wanted to eat more whole foods and support your gut health, no, that part of you is not driving the bus anymore. The limo driver is on break, and now it's the school bus driver with 25 screaming kids in the back that's ready for some relief. Something quick, comforting, and low effort. So here's the thing. Trying to fix this problem with more motivation, more information, or more willpower is not going to work for long. You don't need to become a different person. You need to make fewer decisions. And that is where automation comes in. It's simple. We make a decision one time on purpose with intention, and then we stop making that decision. So we don't need to constantly pick it. We've already made the choice. Now all we need to do is create a plan that backs it up. All right? We decide once and we let that decision run in the background. We flow through the plans that we create, and this becomes our default. We already do this with many parts of our lives, whether we realize it or not. You likely park in the same spot at work. You probably take the same route to the grocery store. You probably brush your teeth in roughly the same order without thinking about it. You made those decisions enough time that they became automated. They run on a sort of autopilot. So now we're going to apply this to food. Meal automation means you intentionally choose a default meal, and then you repeat it at least most days with simple variations. So instead of waking up and wondering, what should I eat for breakfast? You already have that question answered. Instead of staring at the fridge at lunch and thinking, what sounds good, you have a go-to. Now, I actually suggest starting your automated meals with either breakfast or lunch, because at this point in the day, we have more willpower, so we can stick to this new habit that we're creating, right? This automated habit, this automated meal. And normally in the mornings, you're at home, right? So you actually have a little bit more time where we can prep these simple meals and really start to ingrain this healthy eating habit into our identity, because we're starting the day with it forefront. We're following up because we set our first 2 meals up with success. And then when it comes to dinner, if you have breakfast and lunch automated, you can now use your leftovers for dinners instead of lunches. And then all that it really takes is meal prepping one day so that you have at least 3 meals that are already chilling in the fridge for you to eat on those days where you're staying at the pantry thinking, what the hell am I going to make? So let's talk about what this looks like in practice. When I first started automating my meals, I personally used a yogurt bowl as my default go-to meal. It was a simple base that required no cooking, so I was able to stick with it very well. And then I picked some basic add-ins. They're superfoods that provide lots of extra nutrients and made the yogurt much more filling. So personally, I opted for chia seeds, hemp seeds, blueberries, and raisins. And that was my go-to meal for most of my breakfast and or lunches. And then I started to play around with the add-ins to add some variety. Sliced strawberries, pumpkin seeds, a sprinkle of nuts or granola, giving yourself a little bit of variation with the same default meal. As another example, a client of mine always has a full schedule. So she knew she wouldn't even necessarily have the time to make a yogurt in the morning. So instead, once a week, she would prep a bunch of breakfast burritos, and she would throw most of them in the freezer and just move them to the fridge and grab that at the start of the day. That way she knew she was having a healthy breakfast or lunch option on hand. So the same work schedule, the same life, but now an automated meal that used to require a lot of choices and mental energy, that's now just automated. Now, you are not necessarily locking yourself into a life without variety. You're creating gentle rails so your brain and body know what to expect, and then you can always add even more variety. This is literally just our baseline. Okay, there's no reason that instead of having a breakfast burrito or a yogurt, you make something else. It's just now you have a default. So we're not standing in front of the pantry or fridge wondering what the hell are we going to eat anymore. Now, why does this all matter? Beyond just feeling more organized, let's drop into the deeper layers together because this is where meal automation really shines. The first underlying benefit is in the nervous system. Your brain loves patterns. It might not sound glamorous, but in terms of physiology, predictable nourishment signals safety. When your body roughly knows when food is coming and what kind of food is coming, it doesn't have to stay on high alert. It knows the meals are on the way. So there's less of a stress level, less of a, will I have time to eat? What am I going to eat? Will it be enough? Without realizing it, all of these things will increase your stress. It's background stress that can almost be ignored because it becomes our normal reality. So when you automate even just one meal, you remove a whole cluster of daily decisions and background stress that drops your mental clutter, and this allows your nervous system to take a relaxed exhale. The second underlying benefit is gut health and digestion. Your digestive system and really just your body in general also love rhythm. There's a process in the intestines called the migrating motor complex, or MMC. You can think of it as the gut's housekeeping system. And this is a rhythm of muscular movements that moves things through the digestive tract in between meals. So when you leave space between meals and your body gets consistent, balanced nourishment, the MMC has a chance to do its job. It helps sweep leftover food, bacteria along the digestive tract, supports overall motility, and contributes to a sense of digestive ease. And the reason that meal automation really is helping with the MMC also goes back to the nervous system. The nervous system is seriously linked to everything in the body. That's why it's like at the root of my wellness consistency program. Now, when we have that background mental clutter where you're like, oh, am I going to have time to eat? When am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? That increases stress. And when you're stressed, you can't properly digest, which means this MMC complex that's normally operating in between meals isn't able to operate because your nervous system is in the stress mode. So everything is connected, and this meal automation or habit automation in general can be really supportive of the nervous system and our gut health. And the third underlying benefit is that there is an identity level shift that happens when you automate your habits with intention. When you eat the same kind of breakfast most days and it generally supports your body, something quiet and powerful happens. You start to see yourself as somebody who nourishes her body on purpose. You're no longer someone who's trying to eat healthy. You're someone who actually does. The same is true when you have a go-to lunch that you prepared ahead of time, or a snack rotation that supports your body instead of spiking and crashing your energy. These automated decisions become evidence that you can follow through, evidence that you are already meeting your needs, that you are capable of consistency. And that evidence tends to spill into all other areas of your life. You start to feel more capable of making the choices that you've been wanting to make, like going for a walk instead of scrolling on your phone, or meditating when you start to feel stressed, or honoring your bedtime. You are creating a foundation that you can have faith in. And that is why it is my number one hack for consistent and simplified nutrition, and why it's the very first system that we create in the Wellness Consistency Coaching Program. When the things that you want to do and the person you want to become a core part of your identity, that is when the magic happens. That is when you stop feeling like something is missing from your wellness routine or from your life. Now, as a final summary, your homework, your next step to do this week is not to overhaul your entire diet, but to choose one meal to automate. I suggest starting with either breakfast or lunch. It is the easiest beginning point, but if you feel drawn to focus on your snacks or your dinner, follow your energy, follow what you feel excited about. Step 1, choose which meal you're going to automate. Step 2, pick your baseline meal. Congratulations, that meal is now your go-to. Step 3, start incorporating your new automated meal into your life. Now, if you're not already in the Facebook group, please go join and let me know, what is your go-to meal going to be? What meal did you decide that you are going to automate? Pop that into our feed on the Health Habit community. I'll put the link in the show notes. And if this episode helped you, please share it with a friend. Pass on the learning and the opportunities. Let's grow our habits and our health together. I love you all so much, and I'll see you next week for the next episode of the Health Habit Podcast. Goodbye.